Hey class, my name's Fran, Teacher Fran here, just wanting to check in after the first week of class and explain a few things that I don't usually get to talk to you about in person, so sometimes I think a video helps. Hopefully my house around me doesn't look super messy, but anyway, I wanted to let you know that so far I've really enjoyed meeting all of you, reading about your backgrounds. It's cool how many different places we all come from and different perspectives we're going to share. Really have enjoyed reading your posts in the discussion board and have been super impressed with the writing that people have submitted. So just to recap, so far you should have handed in and gotten feedback on two written assignments from last week. An assertion, which that's going to be the same structure I'm going to expect for a body paragraph and an essay from you. And you also should have submitted a reading response on one of the stories from week 1. And they were fantastic. So please take a look at that feedback so that you can make sure that in your future efforts you're doing the best you can. So the big thing, sorry I have to look at my notes every once in a while. The big thing that I wanted to talk to you about was essays basically in general, and essay number 1. This week, week 2, you're working on the introduction to essay number 1. So you want to make sure you not only read the module on introductions, but also on essay 1, because you can't really write an introduction unless you know what the essay is supposed to be about. My rule for the class is you can write an essay on any story that's on our syllabus. I have to read it for it to work out for me to grade it, but yeah, pick any story that you've read on the syllabus. You can write it on something you've already written a response on, that's fine. I just don't want you doubling up essays on the same story. So once you've picked a story for an essay, then pick a new story for the next one, just for a little variety. So here is my background, my kind of perspective on essay writing. Structure is really the key element. Thing's not a very good English teacher word. Structure is really the most important element of writing that I want to emphasize for this term. If you have good structure, then your ideas will shine through. If you have poor structure, nobody's going to understand your ideas. There's a sort of an anticipated structure to writing, a logical structure. So for example, in the introduction, there's certain elements that I want you to make sure that you have. So read the module. If you have any questions, send me a message, but there's certain elements of an introduction that make sense to have. And if you leave them out, then something's missing. Same with body paragraphs. They're just like assertion paragraphs. There's a certain logical structure to that. So I'm really emphasizing structure. So your essays will have a prescribed structure that tends to loosen throughout the term. This first essay that you're going to write, that you'll work on really the body and conclusion of the essay next week, the introduction this week. The first essay, you're picking a character from a story and you're analyzing, you're making a stand of whether that character learned an intended lesson or not in the story. Some stories are easier to write about than others because an intended lesson could be more clear. So anyway, so once you have that chosen, what you need to remember is for this essay, your body paragraphs, what the content is already prescribed. Body paragraph 1 needs to be about the initial state of that character. So in terms of that lesson. So like Madame Loisel, there's a bunch of, if you've read The Necklace, there's a lot of lessons Madame Loisel could have learned in that story. But let's say you could pick whatever lesson, like she should have been honest. You need to find textual evidence, at least 2 quotes for a body paragraph number 1, that show how she was in the onset of the story in relation to being honest. Then the second body paragraph, which is sometimes the most difficult one, is you're trying to prove what the turning point is. When was the character's opportunity to learn a lesson? You're not trying to prove if he or she learned the lesson in the second body paragraph, just when that opportunity was. So you have to have textual evidence, quotes, that help you prove when he or she could have learned his or her lesson. The third body paragraph of essay number 1 is supposed to be showing if he or she learned his or her lesson or not. So that's the breakdown of what I'm expecting from you in your body paragraphs. Now, why do I tell this to you when you're writing your introduction? Well, if you read through the module on the introductions, you need to make sure you have a hook and context for your thesis, like who the author is and what the title of the story is, and a little tiny summary. But you also need to have with your thesis statement a blueprint, and a blueprint is the overview of points you're going to cover in your body paragraphs that will ultimately prove your thesis. It's a really important part of an introduction that helps keep things clear for the reader. Okay, so you have to know what your body paragraphs are going to be about before you write your introduction. And then your job is a lot easier. I find if I have my introduction down, I've already had to sort of contemplate what's going to be in my essay. So for this essay, prescribe structure, make sure for your introduction that you follow the steps in the module and that you read through the directions for essay 1 carefully. If you have any questions, I think I've done a good job of sending out messages if it seems like something was unclear to a student, but feel free to contact me. I'm very easy and approachable, so send me a message and we'll clear things up. So continue the great work. And yeah, I look forward to hearing more from you in the discussion forum. Take care.